Bitcoin is selling off. This is the daily chart. I was thinking we might be forming something like a bull flag. Depending on how you draw it, it could look something like this, where you allow price action to essentially chop around as it appears to. I actually think this is probably what the bull flag is going to look like because, well, I want to talk to you about the significance of this level right here that I just circled. If this bull flag does play out like I just drew it too, by the way, guys, I mean, to me, that would be such a great entry. Let me show you why that level around 96,400 would make a lot of sense. What I did here is I changed these to weekly bars. First and foremost, I just want to highlight my leading thesis, which is the inverse head and shoulders. That would be the left shoulder, the head, and this would be the right shoulder that's currently forming. And if it bottomed right around where you see the convergence of the 21 EMA on the weekly, along with the 200-day, and it's the 75% point in this massive channel that's contained Bitcoin's price action going back to 2017. Okay, so extremely significant level there. A retrace to that 75% point that is the convergence of those two extremely relevant moving averages to me, forming the lowest point of the right inverse shoulder. And just one more feather in the cap, if we do a fib retrace here, top to bottom, it actually also perfectly coincides with 0.618 Fibonacci retrace. So there's 4 reasons to think that we may have a healthy pullback to about 96,400 if that's in the next weekly bar, which we're like hours away from starting next week's weekly bar. It could also happen on this week's weekly bar too, which would take it down to 96,200 roughly. Now, I also just wanted to show you guys, if you look at like the Bitcoin to silver ratio, which is what we're looking at right here, it would expect Bitcoin to fall relative to silver down to this channel support. That would be extremely strong support in my opinion. Here's the Bitcoin to gold ratio, and you can see there's some room to fall. Now, I don't think we fall all the way back down. If you guys were subscribed to me back in April, this is how I essentially called the rotation out of gold into Bitcoin. I even called 3,500 an ounce to the day. You know what I mean? That video is still up. So if anybody wants to question it, go check it out. It's on my channel. I also predicted it like a month before then that it was going to happen. So I was predicting it like back here. You know what I mean? I don't know if we go all the way down to this channel support. It almost feels too easy. But if you do a fib retrace, you know, it could take us down to the 0.236 fib maybe. It also depends on the price action of gold, obviously, as well. But that is what I'm seeing here with Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin holds the key to showing us what's next for MicroStrategy. Now, I also just want to mention that I did a video 13 days ago where I talked about this breakout could happen in August. And I've rewatched that video a couple times. I may have hit the nail on the head. I literally opened that video by saying, I think I figured it out. And this is one of the most important videos I've ever made. I'm going to autoplay straight into that video right now because I think it's worth watching again. This is one of the most important videos I've ever dropped on this channel because I think I may have actually figured out the path forward for MicroStrategy from now until the end of the year. No joke. I'm going to show you how I got there. I'm going to show you why it makes so much sense on so many different charts, including linear charts, log charts, ratio charts. It makes so much sense. I cannot wait to share it with you, okay? I cannot wait, but I need you to know up front. It's not financial advice, and I honestly do this for myself. I don't do this because I have a YouTube channel. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. Just kidding. I do have a MSTR generational wealth community where you can copy my trades, get daily updates, direct message me. We also hold a weekly live stream. It's linked below. That's the only thing that's changed since I recorded this video. And I'm not trying to like entertain you and give you big predictions or anything like that. This is my own research. I'm just sharing it because I enjoy sharing it, honestly. So that's all I needed to make clear before we get into it, guys. Now, this is the MicroStrategy log chart. If you're new here, I would recommend checking out some of my older videos where we talk about the significance of some of these levels and what we're looking at here. Okay, but these channels on the log chart have done a really good job kind of containing price action, kind of creating magnet levels and defining breakouts and also providing support for retracements. You know what I mean? But check out the white lines. These declining white lines have provided overhead resistance that led to breakouts and kind of defined breakouts, especially here since 2020, okay? First time we broke out of the overhead resistance, we ran 1,000% or 900%. The next time we broke out from one of these white resistances, white lines, 525%. The next time we ran 255%. Now you might notice that I have kind of projected where I think we go next. Now, the way I did that, guys, if you didn't know, here in TradingView, where I make these charts, you're able to do a bars pattern and clone previous price action. So I cloned right here where I thought, hey, this looks like a familiar pattern. And if you guys didn't know, by the way, patterns repeat all the time across different equities on the stock market. All the time. If you ask me, what I think happens is that these market maker algorithms, I think most of the alpha they generate is from abusing retail traders. And what does that mean? It means exploiting their psychology, their tendencies. And I bet you these same patterns that play out over and over again across different equities are pretty reliable at exploiting retail traders' psychology. Like right now, everybody thinks we're going to break out. Boom. Then we form the right shoulder. People lose interest. Hopefully not us on this channel, but people lose interest. You start burning options premium. And just about when everybody gives up, you give them these massive bars that lead to a huge breakout. And we end up running, from bottom to top, 363%, right? From a MicroStrategy, around $300 a share, which I know is like blasphemy to say. I'm not saying it'll work out exactly like this, but I cloned the previous bars. All I did is copy paste. And then boom, we could run from 300 a share to 1500 a share, basically. Let me show you why this makes so much sense before you leave, because I said that we might have to go down before we go up. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to bend the knee to anybody. This is just my own research. Okay, this is the same chart, MicroStrategy on the log scale. Okay, exact same. I copy paste the pattern. I didn't want to kind of muddy up my normal log scale chart. I like to keep this one clean. So this is my test log scale chart. The first thing I said is, okay, if I copy this pattern, why did the copy paste stop right here at 1500 a share? Well, if you go back in time, and you connect MicroStrategy 2004, 2005, 2006, and 2007 tops. All you do is you connect them and you extend that trend line out. This is the log scale, by the way. So I'm actually not a big fan of doing this on the log scale, but I was just thinking is it random or is it potentially there's a reason why we stopped there? And what do you know? It intersects perfectly with the overhead resistance on the, on me copy pasting that previous pattern. Then it sells off from, 1500-ish a share down here to 860 a share. Is that random? Well, I go here to the 2021 top. I connect it to the 2024 top. And what do you know? Boom, provides the exact support just from me cloning the previous bars. Okay. And then I started drawing other lines just to see is this a random thing or is this a phenomenon that repeats? And it looks like it does repeat. Okay. Now, what does this look like if we go over here to the Bitcoin chart? Now, this is Bitcoin on the log scale. Just as a refresher, if anybody's new, on the log scale on Bitcoin, you have these levels that are clearly represented by the white lines. Every time we break through it to a new level, we typically run up in the banana zone, and where we top defines the top of that level. But it's a moving top, okay? These lines, it may not look like it, but they are slanted. So the longer you spend on the level, the more the top moves. The top gets higher and higher, okay? So level 1 right here, level 2, level 3. We're currently on level 4, but we've run up against the top 5 times at 65,000, at 69,000, at 108,000, at 109,000, at 113,000. I mean, we fell a little bit short, but close enough. Okay, so it may seem random that we topped where we topped, but honestly, it's not random. Look here, and then even look at the linear chart, okay? Even here on the linear chart, you can see just by connecting previous tops that there was overhead resistance there. And we'll come back to this linear chart in a second. But I did the same thing here. I cloned previous banana zone breakouts. I put it right here, and I aligned the August 11th date that I got off of this right here, where we would break through on the log scale in MicroStrategy, August 11th, okay, just from cloning the previous pattern. Check it out. It makes the perfect inverse head and shoulders that you guys have probably heard me talk about in previous videos, an extremely bullish structure that would make a whole lot of sense to see something that like that. I mean, I've heard people say cup and handle. They're not wrong, right? But these are all very bullish structures that are going to propel us hopefully through these extremely significant resistances that I just mentioned a second ago have stopped us about 5 times already. Okay. And then I cloned that previous bars and I arranged them in a way that can kind of project for us where we might be headed. Now, in this case, in this projection, in November of 2025, we could see $220,000 Bitcoin. May seem random for a price target, but let me show you now on the linear chart what I ended up doing. So what I did here is I found the August 11th date. Okay, I cloned a previous Bitcoin breakout. I think something like this right here. Actually, it was probably from further back. I think I cloned this right here, this banana zone right here, just for projecting it. Okay, so I cloned it. I put it right here. So it looked something like this first, but then I had to extend it out to a larger scale. And what do you know? It fits this channel perfectly. You may say, Ryan, where's that channel from? All I did is I found the August 11th and I treated that like that's going to create the bottom end of this channel. If we did break out, this is all theoretical. if we broke out on August 11th, okay? I moved that same pattern from before, the same banana zone breakout. I just extended it up, and it respects the bottom of this channel and the top of this channel. Now, keep in mind, the channel is only drawn based on previous price action and based on the projection of breaking out on August 11th, okay? Also, it's just worth mentioning that I cloned the same channel. I brought it over here, and it does a pretty good job representing this previous run-up, okay, from October 20th to the initial top there in March of 2021. It does a good job containing that run-up. And then also when you fall out of the channel here, what do you know? Bitcoin sells off. The exact same channel, using August 11th as the projected breakout date, would make a ton of sense. Okay, let's look at the MicroStrategy to SPY ratio now. Did you guys see yesterday's video? If not, I'll link to it right here in the YouTube cards and it's in the description. Do you remember how I was looking at this like parabolic structure that's forming? Well, let me be honest with you. I had it drawn like this yesterday. And I said, okay, it looks like we're at support. We should break out soon. Today I said, what about August 11th? I had to redraw the parabolic structure. I also said, how do we get out here in kind of no man's land? Well, number one, it's not really no man's land. If you look at it, like we're still respecting the structure, okay? We just had to kind of pull it a little bit from right here. But right here, we didn't test the structure. Do you guys see that kind of dark blue line? That's the 200-day. So instead of going all the way out to the edge where the structure is, it said, no, we'll just bounce off the 200-day here. So it does actually make a little bit of sense that you don't have to hit the parabolic structure every time, okay? But notice in the past, when you do, you get these massive, massive moves. Like right here, boom, we hit it, massive move. Right here, we hit it, massive move. Okay, now this is MicroStrategy to SPY ratio. Also, look at these overhead decline lines. When you get the decline line that intersects with the parabolic kind of support, you get massive, massive, you know what I mean? I keep saying massive, but look, just look. How else would you describe all of these green bars in rapid succession? What I'm saying is it's gonna, or it could, theoretically, August 11th would take us right here, and that parabola, I don't even know if it's a parabola, I don't want to use the wrong word, but like this support structure could theoretically intersect right there, August 11th, and provide rocket fuel for, you know, breaking through all of those overhead resistances on the MicroStrategy chart, on the log scale, the Bitcoin chart on the log scale. It corresponds to the Bitcoin chart on the linear scale. You see what I'm saying? It makes perfect sense on the MicroStrategy to SPY ratio chart. Like it makes sense everywhere. Here's my green chart for MicroStrategy, okay? And my green charts are always safe. They contain the price action, nothing too crazy. On this green chart, I did a cross-section channel where I connected basically the tops of the previous price action and the bottoms. I don't have to extend it out, you know, all the way with the left and the right line. I could also just draw it like this, okay? And you could just call it a bull flag. And now we're all trying to guess when we break out of this bull flag. Well, how about August 11th? Okay, how about August 11th right here? This actually also takes us right where the top of the bull flag intersects with the middle of this price channel that contains MicroStrategy's price action dating back to, you know, basically 2020, 2021, okay, the 2021 top, the February 2024 bottom. You know, it contains all of that price action. And right there, right at the middle, where the bull flag top intersects, the overhead resistance intersects with the middle of this massive price channel, to me, that creates kind of a magnet, and it could make a whole lot of sense. You know, inverse left shoulder, head, right shoulder, boom, rocket fuel. Okay, on my red chart here for MicroStrategy, I honestly was just kind of looking at if we did actually play out the move to a T, you'll notice in that previous run-up, we actually had a big sell-off. So in this case, what it would look like was $600 MicroStrategy, sell off down to 385, which would be miserable. I don't think it has to go like that. It's just me cloning the previous bars. But what would it look like? Oh, I was trying to say, like, would this make sense, you know, on all of these other charts? Here in my red chart, I don't think it would, because we would drop out of the channel. I think this channel provides support the whole way. So if we were going to sell off, maybe we see a $600 MicroStrategy sell off down to a $520 MicroStrategy. And by the way, what you see here is me syncing up the dates. So literally like using these, treating them as if they're actually happening. What would it look like? I draw it out. I match up the dates. I match up the prices. I don't think, you know, such a big sell-off makes as much sense as it did, you know, on the previous run-up, okay? One last chart. This is just Bitcoin to gold ratio, okay? Bitcoin to gold ratio. You can kind of see here, it's almost the same, like kind of inverse head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, the right shoulder here. It's not nearly as aesthetically pleasing on this chart, but I did just kind of want to show you a similar structure. You got the overhead resistances provided by the decline lines. Okay, you've got them again right here. When do we break through this overhead resistance decline line? Well, if it looks like August 11th, then we would break through right there. And again, you've got your rocket fuel now to go significantly higher after that and potentially even higher after that. Who knows? We'll know when we get there. But guys, that's it. That's what I wanted to share today. This is extremely bullish for MicroStrategy and for Bitcoin. It just might take longer than we expected it to, which, tell me, has that never happened to you before? I feel like I'm always early to things. When you see a million people calling out that the bottom's in, the breakout's confirmed, we all know what's happening next. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like people can be so emboldened to make those calls when it's that obvious. Does it ever work out? You know, I don't know. I think we might have to wait till August. Let me know your thoughts in the comments though. I love hearing from you guys. I hope you appreciated this video. I also just wanted to mention really quickly, if we go back in time to yesterday's video, feels like it was forever ago that we had yesterday's video. Remember how we looked at the MicroStrategy to SPY ratio, and then we looked at the previous massive run up on the .com bubble, and we did the math, and we said that would take us to a $1,400 per share MicroStrategy. Well, today's video arrived at basically the same conclusion, like 1,400, 1,450, depending. You know what I mean? I love when those things sync up. Again, it's another feather in the cap of this might actually happen. You know what I mean? We could definitely exceed it as well. I think the breakout it's just a matter of time. You know, that's the real takeaway here. So be smart with your money. You know what I mean? Buy the underlying, just wait it out. You know what I mean? Wait till we get confirmation of the breakout at least. You see how they're clearly defined on these charts. There's no reason to be losing money when we have what I would call a sure thing. Also, of course, it's not financial advice. This is just entertainment. But thank you for watching, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.